It takes many years for a fishing lure to get a reputation for being a consistent fish producer. In the case of the Yakima Bait Spin-n-Glo, literally generations of avid anglers have depended on the Spin-n-Glo as their go-to bait for catching bottom-hugging lake trout. Teamed up with an 8-inch Pro Troll paddle, the Spin-n-Glo becomes an iconic fish-catching system. Mark and Jake Romanack of Fishing 411 TV traveled to Northern Lake Huron, near the port of Presque Isle, to put the reputation of the Spin-n-Glo to test. Using just 2 downrigger and 2 diver lines, it doesn't take long for our heroes to see what the fuss is all about. It's a trout smackdown on Northern Lake Huron.
Oh yeah, Dad, we're hooked up.
I haven't got my lines in the water yet.
That's a good problem to have.
That's a good problem. I want to tell you what, I want to stop setting things here until we
Just blow that one up so you don't have to listen to the clicker. Yeah. That fish is a long ways down. I tell you what, that's one of the good things about having electric downriggers on the boat. We're going to tell you exactly how we're catching these fish today. But basically, this fish came on a downrigger about 105 feet down with a Spin-n-Glo, probably the most classic way to catch a lake trout in the Great Lakes, well, for anywhere in the world for that matter. And I'd set this rod and I went to go set a second rod, and I caught one. It was that quick. So I think that's exactly what we're going to have today is as fast as we can put rods in the water, we're going to be catching fish.
You should have warned me to get the small net, not the big net. So he's not the most giant of lake trout in Lake Huron, but it is a lake trout. There we go.
There we go. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Maybe a little bit bigger, but it's a start. And right now what we're basically doing is we're just trying to get gear set, and I literally just set that line and looked over and the rod went right away. So I think we're gonna have our hands full today. We're gonna figure out the little bit better quality fish, but you gotta start somewhere. And that's not a bad way to start.
That time I got to him. I was a little faster. that time. Woo, baby. Oh, we are hooked up. Man, and think about, we're in Northern Lake Huron today. We're fishing out of the port of Presque Isle. What a beautiful place. And it is clearly one of those places that time kind of forgotten about. Man, it's just, you never know what a guy's going to catch up here. There's a lot of fish to be caught, but by and large, it's famous for lake trout. And that is what I believe I got on here. I hate to have you take him over the kicker motor there, Jake, but I think that's just right where he needs to be. Yeah.
All right, keep it coming just like that. That's a nice fish.
Yeah, that's not a bad trout.
Nice.
That's not a bad trout. Look at that pork belly on that thing. There is the object of our affections today. Look at the belly on that lake trout. I mean, it's those of people that have been following the story of Lake Huron know that it's had its issues with forage crashes and stuff, but there is so much forage in Lake Huron right now, it's amazing. If we opened up that trout right now and took a look in there, my guess is it's going to be just literally chock full of smelt. The smelt forage base is doing excellent, and as you can see, the lake trout are responding as well. As you might have noticed before, we're even setting lines this morning. We used our electronics to do some probing, if you will. We used our downrigger and the fish hawk, and we dropped our temperature probe down, and what we were looking for is where the temperature break would be. So as we were letting that probe down, it was actually a little disconcerting because we had warm water all the way down to 80 feet. It wasn't until we hit 80 feet that we started getting into the water temperatures where we expect to find trout and salmon, that high 40s, low 50-degree water. And then from 80 down to the bottom was good. So we knew we were probably going to be okay for lake trout. We'd like to have that temperature throughout the water column, but right now the good water is near the bottom.
Special considerations are provided by the Lake St. Clair Walleye Association and by Striker Brands. Go early, go late, go prepared. Special considerations are provided by Fish Hawk Electronics. Fishing without a fish hawk is called boating.
There we go, hooked up, Dad.
Excellent.
This feels like a pretty good one. Oh yeah. Oh, he's dogging. Ooh, you know, the key today has just been trying to keep our speed right. And a big part of that has been with our fish hawk. A huge part of that. You know, when it comes to this Great Lake style of fishing, offshore fishing, it is so important to have a system like a fish hawk because we're looking for temperature. These fish are very temperature sensitive, but they're also speed sensitive in the way that the system that we're using right now, if we go too slow, we don't have the right action. If we go too fast, we don't have the right action. And now the speed over ground, or speed like right here in the boat, that speed really doesn't matter. What I'm looking for is the speed down at depth. Right now I'm running these downrigger balls anywhere from 100 to 140 feet down. And so the speed down at depth with the way the currents are really changes. Really look for our temperatures, we watch our speed really closely, and when we dial those two things in, we're pretty much catching fish at will. Another thing that we've really noticed so far today is that there was a big blow here the last couple days. And so what happens is we have warm water on the surface, and the warm water goes all the way down to depth. So right now we're targeting fish pretty deep in the water column. And a lot of times when you watch our show, you'll see us fishing a lot of lines, and right now today we're actually only fishing 4 lines. And I always feel like if I have to go deep, you're more efficient to fish less rods. In the case we're basically running some big dipsy divers and some downriggers. 4 lines is all we're fishing right now. So we fish less rods and fish them deep, and that's what helps us stay on fish. So again, temperature is pretty much the name of the game to Great Lake style fishing for trout and salmon. And right now the temperature is deep, so we're going deep. It's a good fish.
There, he's in the scoop.
Nice.
That is a beautiful
That's what we're looking for.
trout.
All right, let's pull this fish up and show him off. That is what we're looking for right there. That is a beautiful Lake Huron lake trout. Catching them trolling with Spin-n-Glos. We're gonna go into detail here in a little bit of showing you exactly how we're catching these fish, because it's kind of a modern twist to a very traditional method of catching lake trout on the Great Lakes. That is exactly what we're out here to catch, these big Lake Huron lake trout.
As you can see, judging by the 2 whole boxes here of Spin-n-Glos, I like Spin-n-Glos. I like them a lot. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught on them. And it's an iconic presentation that we've been using here in the Great Lakes my whole life. I was probably in my early 20s when I caught my first lake trout on a Spin-n-Glo, and here I am now in my early 60s still catching fish on Spin-n-Glos. You just can't beat them. Now, as far as for Great Lakes lake trout, number 2 is a really, really good size, and that's what these are. I think it's just a go-to size. As far as colors, there's hundreds to pick from, literally hundreds to pick from. But some of the ones that are working really good consistently, this is the one that's been working for us today with the white wings. But we've also caught fish today with the same color, but with the silver wings on it. Obviously, this one is a fire tiger version. I've got to have that in the water most days. This clown version with the yellow wings, man, it's lights out. It catches a lot of trout. There's no question about it. This one here is something they call double trouble. It just goes on and on. This one's lemon lime with the silver wings. They also make them white wings. You can get them with black wings. You can get them with pink wings. I mean, it's just endless what you can do with the Spin-n-Glo. It is one of those lures that catches lake trout everywhere you put it in the water. You might also wonder just how many of these things are produced a year. Literally millions. Even more interesting, they're handmade one at a time. Handmade. Pretty cool. Well, I need the bigger net for him.
Oh, you're good, Dad.
I grabbed the little net. I think I need the big net. I'm sorry about that, Jacobs. I was a little slow on the net job there.
All right, we're going to show this one off real quick because I'm going to try to get this one back. He's actually in really good shape. And what I'm going to do here is I'm basically just going to pop this hook out. These fish today have been absolutely annihilating it, and that was actually one of the lighter hooked fish that we've caught today. Most of them have been right in the back of the throat and they've been bleeding like crazy, so we pretty much have to keep them. But this one's in really good shape, so I'm going to go ahead and get him right back right away here. There he goes.
Special considerations provided by Abyss Battery. Power your pursuit. Special considerations are provided by the Ultimate Sport Show Tour, Michigan's premier sport shows.
Yeah, baby, look at that. Woo!
Travel Light Truck Campers presents the 411 on Fishing.
You know, one of the coolest things about a truck bed camper like this Travel Light Atom is the fact that you can go anywhere you want to go and still have your boat hooked up. The toughest thing we deal with sportsmen is we always want to bring our boats with us, but if we have a normal traditional camper, you just simply can't bring the camper and the boat with you. But the thing about a truck camper is it needs to be streamlined. It needs to be easy to put on the back of the truck. It needs to be easy to take off. And the thing is over this year of me running this camper, I figured out a couple little things to really streamline having the truck bed camper, getting it loaded in the back of the truck quickly, and taking it off quickly. I'm going to go through a couple of those steps. The thing of it is if it becomes difficult, you don't want to do it. And so we want to make it as easy as possible. So this truck camper is awesome. We've taken on a lot of cool adventures, but you want to be able to get it on and off that truck easy. Let me walk you through a couple of those steps. The key to this truck bed camping is being able to keep the thing in the back of the truck, right? That's the simplest thing, but there's a lot of different things you can do to make that easier. As far as the tie downs go, now these tie downs, they're chains on the outside of the truck. It's an aftermarket company and you add them to your truck, but it makes it so that camper isn't going anywhere going down the highway. But that's simple, right? Tying down the camper to the truck. And what I've done is a couple little things that I've made on my own, kind of some DIY projects. The first thing that I did is I made bumpers. Let's talk like we're bowling. I basically made bumpers on the side of my truck. So when you back that camper in, it can't go right and it can't go left. Every single truck's gonna be different, every camper's gonna be different, but making these wooden bumpers that make that camper slide and drop in perfectly every time saves you a lot of hassle. The other really important thing that I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of foam and putting it up on the front of the bed of the truck. That allows that camper to bump up against that foam and it stops any squeaking going down the road. So all these little things you figure out throughout the summer of using this camper. So what you want is for it to not move in the back of the truck. You want it to not squeak and be quiet in the back of the truck. Adding things like a bumper on either side to slide that camper in, adding things like that piece of foam goes a long ways in making the whole experience better.
And we are hooked up with another trout. Come on, baby.
All right, pretty good one, Dad.
It doesn't feel bad. I mean, look at these rods. They got a nice bend on them. It's a little hard to judge when they're 100 feet down. It's always more fun to catch trout when they're in shallower water, but you get in the middle of the summertime like this, 100 foot is not uncommon, 120 foot, and sometimes even deeper to catch these trout. So you have to have riggers for this kind of work. No surprise today, the majority of our fish are coming on the riggers. Boy, we'd be in bad trouble today if we didn't have a pair of cannons on the boat right now. So definitely helping us out considerably.
Keep him coming just like that, Dad.
I will.
Nice fish.
Well, this seems to be a pretty typical fish today, and part of the explanation for that is that there's heavy stocking efforts going on up here. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is putting a ton of lake trout in. They get to this size pretty quickly, and then once they get larger, of course, the growth rates slow down dramatically. There are some good fish to be had. We've had a couple of quality fish, and we'll get some more. But day in and day out, you're going to get a lot of these small fish when you're trout fishing in Lake Huron.
All right, let's walk through the rig that we're catching these lake trout with, because this is kind of a modern twist to a very, very, very popular and traditional style way of catching lake trout on the Great Lakes. Basically, what makes it traditional is the business end. Now, the business end, what we're using is a Spin-n-Glo, which is a very, very popular way of catching lake trout anywhere they swim. But basically, the Spin-n-Glo is a very simple rig. What I have here is a trocar. This is a number 4 trocar treble, a round bend treble hook. I put one bead on there, and then I slide that Spin-n-Glo on the line, and I run anywhere from about an 18 to a 24-inch leader back to the rotator. This is the kind of modern twist that we've made to this system, because basically, traditionally, what guys have used for years is what's called a dodger. And a dodger works very well, and there's really nothing wrong with this system. But the one thing that I don't like about a dodger is it's a very speed-sensitive system, meaning that you really don't want to pull a dodger much faster than about 2 miles an hour on the top end speed. And so that makes it very difficult to fish other gear. For instance, if I wanted to fish spoons higher up in the water column, it'd be very hard to fish a dodger down deep and spoons up high. I want to be able to pull those spoons faster, and I can only pull this dodger at about 2 miles an hour max. And so what we've done is we basically just got rid of the dodger and we went to a rotator. Now in this case, this is a Pro Troll, an 8-inch Pro Troll. A lot of different rotators out there that work for this system. But what this allows is for me to pick up my speed. I can go anywhere from 2 to 3 miles an hour now, cover more water, get in front of more fish. And so this system right here with the Spin-n-Glo and the Pro Troll teamed together allows you to be able to fish a lot of different gear in your spread now. Now I can fish spoons, now I can fish plugs. There's a lot of different things I can fish when I'm fishing the rotator. So the dodger still works really well, but you have to slow your speed down. The 8-inch rotator, like this Pro Troll, allows me to kick my speed up, cover more water, and hopefully catch more fish at the end of the day.
Special considerations are provided by Cisco Fishing Systems, your fishing equipment experts. Special considerations are provided by ProCure, ruthlessly effective bait scents.
I want to talk a little bit about our downrigger setup here. I've got a pretty heavy downrigger ball. It's 20 pounds, and that's pretty heavy for Great Lakes fishing, but it keeps us almost straight vertical, so we have really good control of our downrigger balls in that case. Now the release itself is on there. You notice it's got red release. That's the OR8. It's the extra heavy release that offshore makes, and it's got a fairly long tail on it that connects it to the downrigger ball. And the reason that's important is you can see the angle at which I'm holding it right now. What that does is when the fish bites, it allows it to pull it down a little bit, and that's what allows your rod tip to index, and you can see the bites better. So having that little bit longer release there works nicely, and having a heavier tension release is important too, because I don't want that fish to trip the release when he bites. I want him to be on there and let me to trip him. The reason for that is I want him to get as much resistance as possible to get a good solid hook set. That way we land the vast majority of the fish that bite. So that OR8 extra heavy tension downrigger release is pretty hard to beat when it comes to pulling things like rotators or anything that has some resistance in the water.
That's a fatty.
Nice. That's a fatty right there, yeah.
Well, we've caught a lot of lake trout that size today, which I'm not complaining. They have been a lot of fun and keeping us very, very busy. But I'm going to go ahead and get this one unhooked, and then I'm going to release it. When I release it, I want to show you one tip to releasing these fish. Now, I kind of judge each lake trout. You're allowed to keep lake trout, and we've kept some today, but I kind of judge it on how the fish are acting. Now, this one's in really good shape right now, so I'm going to get it back. But my tip to releasing these fish in a little bit deeper water is going to look a little bit aggressive. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove the fish head down into the water. And you see those bubbles? Kicks off and swims no problem. So it looks aggressive, like a way to release a fish, real aggressive, but you got to help those fish burp, get that air out of their swim bladder. Once they get that air out of their swim bladder, they have no problem swimming back down to the depths. You know, one of the things that I feel like changes almost daily when it comes to targeting these lake trout is a leader length. Now, what I mean by leader length is this is my Pro Troll, and then I have a leader that runs back to my Spin-n-Glo. Now, the length of this leader right here, I feel like is a very important piece to the entire puzzle, and it changes daily. And so one of the things I recommend is you're fishing multiple rods, maybe you run some shorter leaders and some longer leaders, and let those fish on that given day tell you what they like. Now, on one side of the boat, my dad was running a little bit longer leader, basically running the Spin-n-Glo further away from the rotator. I was running a little bit shorter leader, and I basically couldn't keep a rod in the water on my side of the boat. And so it's those little pieces of the puzzle when you're trolling that you really want to pay attention to. Basically, by shortening up that leader, when this rotator is spinning up under the water, it's going to give more snap to the Spin-n-Glo. If the leader is longer, you get less snap on that Spin-n-Glo. Changes the action just a little bit, but some days it's enough to really change if these fish are going to eat it or if they're not going to eat it. And let those lake trout tell you what they want.
I'll get behind you here so I can bring him up the right side for you here.
Perfect. Oh, that was a pretty good fish too. Keep them coming. That's a nice fish. Yeah. That's a net full there.
Now that's what I'm talking about. That is a very nice Lake Huron lake trout. Hey, my name is Mark Romanack, and you've been watching Fishing 411. If you like today's show and you want more content, check us out on social media. I think you'll be surprised. There's a ton of content out there designed to help you catch more fish.
Closed captioning is provided by Precision Trolling Data. Fishing 411 TV is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, Starcraft Marine, Suzuki Marine, J Sporting Goods, Smooth Move Seats, Niagara Falls, USA, Eagle Claw, Bill Lewis, and Yakima Bait Company.
That's what it is here.
Like maybe a coho or something?
Or a pink. There's a lot of pinks here. Oop, I'm sorry, did I get you in that, that rigger?
It's actually an Atlantic, Dad. Keep coming.
An Atlantic. Oh, beautiful, look at that.